Welcome, everybody. You hear me okay? Yeah. Glad that you're all here tonight, and I'm really happy to welcome Chaz DiCapua back to Common Ground. Chaz is a longtime friend of Common Ground and of Minnesota. Yeah, Chaz has been coming with Rebecca Bradshaw to teach a retreat for Twin Cities Vipassana Collective for, they don't remember how long, but at least 10 years, maybe more. Yeah. And each year he agrees to give a talk here at Common Ground at the end of the retreat. So yeah, I'm happy that he's willing to stay over one more night and share the Dharma with us. And I'm sure you'll find it always just inspiring, the way Chaz sees the world and the way he offers his heart in his teaching. So Chaz is a resident teacher at Insight Meditation Society, and he also leads a Sangha, like a community Dharma Sangha, just like ours, in Portland, Maine, and teaches retreats across the country. So welcome, Chaz.
Thanks, Shelley. Good evening, everybody. Hi. We'll start tonight, I think, as you usually do, with a half-hour sit, and then we'll see what happens after that. No, I'll give a short Dharma talk, and then see if there's any discussion that wants to be had after that. Okay. So I'll just give a few instructions for a few minutes, and then we'll sit quietly together. Want to encourage you to take a moment or two to be intentional about your posture. Not so much about what that posture is, but just that you're being clear about how it is that you are holding your body, what posture you're settling it into. And then a very kind of natural progression from that noticing is to bring the full attention to the body sitting in this case. Don't see anyone standing, so body sitting. And body particularly sitting on the earth. Becoming aware of the contact points between your body and the earth below. Feeling the body where it's in contact with the earth below. And hopefully this can begin to engender some sense of connectedness, support, and then feeling that support from the earth below, we can then kind of feel okay, we can let go now. We're held, the earth has got us. Let's let go into that support from below. Gently encouraging the body to soften and settle. And when things settle, they settle downwards. So this sense of, settling down. Body sitting, calm body sitting. When we meditate, very helpful for the body to be still, but we're not holding still. It's not a tightness, it's a stillness that comes from a body that's soft and settled. Can feel the body where it's touching the earth, can also feel the body, say, where it's in contact with another part of the body, hands touching. Maybe, depending on how you're sitting, legs touching, or arms touching the torso, or legs. And just see what you notice at these touch points. Can also have a sense, even a wider awareness of whole body sitting, feeling the whole body all at once. This is a very receptive awareness, opening the awareness wide and receiving the body just as you get it. You know, you're not going to get every square inch, but you feel whatever is there to be felt, and you kind of take it in all at once. Body sitting, body breathing. Staying embodied with your attention as you begin to connect with the sensations in the body associated with it breathing in and breathing out. So body sitting and body breathing helps, it gives us an object with which to place the attention on to support it being sort of tethered in the here and now, and allows the attention to start to become embodied. Feeling the body as it sits here, breathing in and out. And I want to leave you with just one instruction that can be very helpful before we sit quietly together. And that is, check in frequently. I'm going to sit for another 20 or 25 minutes. Probably want to do this 10 times. And that is checking in with, am I actually feeling my body? Are there sensations that I can point to right in this moment and go, yes, I feel those? So that, and then along with that, is my body as soft and relaxed as it can be? As we tune into these two things, we begin to see that they both really give rise to, support, and deepen with one another. Relaxing the body, feeling the body. Almost two sides of the same coin. Nice to sit together. Thank you, everybody. I want to invite you to stretch the body any way that it feels like it wants to. If you want to stand up. Including the folks at home, if you want to stretch. Opened up the computer and the to-do list came up. It's like, nope, that's not what we're talking about tonight. So as I said, I'll say a few words on our theme tonight, creating a suitable home for the heart. And then we'll see if there's any discussion that wants to be had. What's our end time? 8:30? Okay, good. So a home is a place, hopefully, that's safe, right, in the ideal sense of the word. Also a place where not just safe and protected, but also where good nourishment is happening. Yeah, that someone's being properly fed. So the idea here, having a suitable home or creating a suitable home for the heart, is having a place where the heart can be nurtured, be safe, and be well nourished, so that it can grow. It can grow full and strong and healthy. The Buddha actually had quite a lot to say about this word nutriment. There's quite a lot of teachings on it. The Pali word is ahara, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, what the Buddha meant by nutriment. But I want to first start with talking about this word heart. So in Dharma teachings, what are we talking about when we use the word heart? Well, in the Pali language, which is the language that the Buddha's words were first written down in that language, there's no real separation for the heart and the mind. There is a word for like the physical heart, like the beating heart, the organ. Begins with an H. I forget the name of it though. But in terms of, in Pali, what they do is, instead of heart and mind, it's just two different aspects or qualities of the mind. So one is called the manas, M-A-N-A-S. And that's the part of the mind that is calculating, the intellectual part that figures things out. That's the part of the mind that figured out how the dimensions that beam needed to be in order to carry the weight across this particular span of space. Yeah, the manas did that. Then the other part of the mind that is more like emotive, that gets touched by life, that's sympathetic to what arises, that's called the chitta, C-I-T-T-A in Pali. And because of that, that sensitivity to that part of the mind, we often will translate chitta to the English word heart, because of we have a sense that the heart has that kind of sensitivity to it. When we think of mind, we think of just the manos part. But what the Dhamma is talking about mostly when it's talking about the mind is talking about the chitta. So, for instance, if you were to go into the Four Establishments of Mindfulness Sutta, the Satipatthana, and you look under the third establishment of mindfulness, mindfulness of mind, you would, if you saw it in Pali, you would see the word chitta there, not manos. So when Dhamma teachings are pointing to the mind, they're pointing more to the quality of chitta, not the calculating manos part of the mind. And so for that reason, we often just use the word heart instead of mind. Very briefly or succinctly, where we want that home to be, where that chitta is going to find that home, a suitable home for it, where it can grow and grow strong, like a young child. You want that child to grow and grow well and grow strong and be well nourished. Yeah, so we want that same for the chitta. Well, that place, where that place is in the body. And then we say, well, of course, the heart's in the body, it's right there. It's like, no, we're not talking about the organ heart. We're talking about the chitta. And so it's in the body where it's the best place for it to be, where its home, where its best home is. But before we can do that, before the body can be a home for the heart or home for the chitta, we need to first develop an attuned somatic awareness of the body. Which is why, or one of the reasons why, the body plays such a prominent role in the Buddha's teachings. So in that same sutta, the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the first establishment is body. If you read that sutta, the body section is probably over twice as long as any of the other 3 sections. The Buddha was very, very clear about the importance of the body in these teachings. Statements such as, the whole universe can be known in this fathom-long body. That's quite a statement. The universe is pretty big. And a statement like, in this body is the world, the arising of the world, the ending of the world, and the path leading to the ending of the world. And in that structure, you can hear the 4 Noble Truths, yeah? Suffering, the cause of suffering, the ending of suffering, and the path leading to the ending of suffering. So he's saying that the Noble Truth can be known in this very body. And of course, the Noble Truths are the cornerstone, the essence of what the Buddha taught. So a lot of our practice is learning to bring the attention to the body, to inhabit the body, to feel the body in an ever more steady and refined way. So when we say a somatic sense of the body, what we're pointing to isn't just like that sense of the body. It's like, okay, yeah, I can feel that, right? So I feel the body. Or even say, bring your attention to where your sit bones are pressing down on what you're sitting on right now. It's like, okay, there's that contact. I can feel that. Good, that's great. It's a great place to start. What we want to do is start to become aware of the body in an ever more fine-grained way, so that we start to experience the body not so much as just a solid kind of lump, but more in its energetic sense, that the body is alive. And feel it, experience it as just tiny sensations, tingling, buzzing, vibrating, pulsing, whooshing, yet energetically. And to do that, we need to have a steady body, a body that's calm and it's seated, not moving around, quite calm and still. And then we bring an attention that's calm and still to that, steady. And the more we can do that, the more we can start feeling the body in this somatic way. So just want to do an example right now. Maybe just place your hands, or some of your hands are together, that's fine, or just place them on your legs. And if I were to say to you, okay, feel your hands, like, yeah, there they are, right? Okay, I feel my hands, mindfulness of the body. Good, yes. Now, leave your attention there. Leave your attention right where that contact point, where your hands touch whatever they're touching, your legs or whatever. Especially your palms. So hand is a concept too, isn't it? We could call it a clock, right? Rest your clock against your legs. Wouldn't matter what we called it. Still that which you are feeling. Keep your attention there and notice perhaps what starts to happen. Do you get any sense of like tiny, tiny little, what words? Sparkles of sensation. Something starts to tingle or sparkle or vibrate. Going from solid to tiny, tiny, tiny movements. You get a sense of that at all? Yeah. Tuning into the body in this way, this is what we mean by starting to get, or what I mean by starting to get a somatic sense of it. And the hands are a great place to start because there's so much, nerve endings and whatnot. They're quite, an alive place in the body. But we can start to get a sense of the difference between, okay, hand as a lump or a concept, just like body can be a concept, and hand as a living, changing, vibrating, sparkling, energetic place. Yeah, so and then as we continue to practice, all the touch points can be good places to start to tune into the body in this way, where it's touching the earth or any place the body's touching. And then as we get more adept, can feel the body even where it's not touching anything, where yogis will, report the body just being this shimmering field of sensations. Like the solidity of it starts to break down a bit, and it's just shimmering, getting us more sense of the energetic, or sometimes it's called feeling the fine body, the fine energy body. And it's a feedback loop. Okay, so this practicing in this way is a feedback loop. So you bring your attention to your say your hands, and then it's not just a cursory attention. Now we're going to skip off and think about what we're going to eat when we go home. No, it's steady, and you keep the attention there, and then because what you feel starts to get more refined and subtle, from just a lump to more subtle sensations, then it kind of asks the attention to get more subtle, right? You want the correct instrument to be noticing that which is subtle. You want a subtle instrument to know subtle. You want a refined instrument to know refinement. So as we begin to feel the body in this way, and we're present for it, it starts to support our attention to also become more refined, more subtle. With that more subtle, more refined attention, we feel the body in a more refined, subtle way, and it keeps looping back and deepening. Yeah, the body and the mind keep supporting one another to become more subtle and refined. Now, because where we kind of start out from, because the chitta is driven out of its home into the sense world by wanting and not wanting, right? Home isn't here, it's someplace out there. Let's go find it. Yeah? Because it's so often doing that, that our attention is rarely in the body because it's out doing something else. It's driven out looking for a place to land or live. And not only that, it's driven out into the sense world, and therefore it connects with sensory contact. It tries to feed on things out in the sense world, on sights, on sounds, smells, taste, touch. This is what the Buddhist talked about when he talked about nutriment, that how the chitta mistakenly tries to feed on contact. So those of you may know the word contact. When a sense object meets a sense door, that's called contact. So when a smell meets the nose, it's contact. When a sight meets the eye, it's contact, etc. The chitta driven out into the sense world feeds on contact. And feeding on sense contact for the chitta, for the heart, is like us trying to nourish ourselves by eating junk food. Like, it's not great stuff. We can do it, and the heart can do it. It can go out and kind of, again, sort of feed on this contact. Let's go here, let's go there, looking for a home, looking for fulfillment. Yeah? Have you noticed? So, yeah, this feeding on sense contact is like us when we try to feed on junk food. And what happens when you try to nourish yourself on junk food? Right? What happens? Well, we don't get nourished, but this sense of but because we're not nourished, then the body wants more, right? The body knows, hey, I'm not nourished. We need to keep eating because this isn't working. Let's more, still no nourishment, more. Yeah, that happens in the body when we eat junk food. It happens with the heart when it's eating the junk food of sense contact. It's not that sense contact is wrong or bad or evil, or it's just not going to nourish the heart. It's just not the right thing to nourish the heart. That's all. That's all that's being pointed to here. We're not demonizing the things of the world, or making them wrong. It's just what the teachings are saying is that's not the place where your heart's going to get fulfilled. It's not where it's going to get properly fed. So that's all. That's the point that's being made. It's not nourished, and therefore it wants some more. And I'm sure we can all get a sense of that in our lives. That looking for fulfillment where it can't be found, not maybe having a sense where it can be found, and therefore continuing to look for it where it can't be found. Yeah? That cycle is called samsara. That's samsara. Samsara is, for those of you who haven't heard that, that's the Pali word for this endless cycle, again, of the heart trying to be fulfilled in a place and in a way that it can't, not knowing any better, and so just continuing to keep trying the same thing over and over again, And the Buddha said, we've been doing this for a long time, and if you bring in Buddhist cosmology, we've been doing it for a really long time. So So we do this thing called meditation, where we practice placing our attention on the body. And remember, the breath is the body. So I really like to encourage people to use the language of body breathing rather than the breath. Like the breath is something, like I'm going to meditate on the breath, right? It's not something separate from your body. It's body breathing. You can meditate on body sitting or body breathing. But notice the common word in both of those. Right? So meditating on the breath is meditating with the body. It's just a particular subset of bodily sensations that we kind of tune into as it breathes in and breathes out. So we do this thing called meditation. We bring our attention to the body and bring it back to the body once it's wandered off. Our attention becomes more refined because the body becomes more refined. Because when we're present with our body, supports it being still. As I mentioned earlier, the body's still, it's calmer. Attention, it begets an attention that's calmer, more refined. And this is really important. And the reason that this is really important is that the relationship between the chitta, again, that part of the heart that we would, English word, or that part of the mind that's sensitive, the relationship between that and the somatic sense of the body is extremely close. Those two are very sympathetic to one another, very much influenced by one another. So, if we can cultivate a sense of the body that's settled, calm, and the awareness that tends to that body, also settled and calm, those two are deepening one another. As I mentioned, how that feedback works. Well, if the somatic sense of the body is settled in that way, calm, then by definition, the chitta is going to be maybe not exactly the same way, but it is definitely going to be supported in being settled and calm and hanging out in the body, because it's a great place to hang out then, because it's settled and calm and it feels good. And when the chitta feels good and settled and calm in the body, it's not so much interested anymore in going out looking for getting fulfilled someplace else, in sights, in sounds, in tastes, in smells, etc. Because this is pretty good. Yeah, it starts to come home. And we start to appreciate and enjoy the subtle sense of joy and contentment that is present when our attention is resting in the body. And the chitta, that part of the mind, is resting back. It's like the cat or the dog at rest by the hearth, by the fire at home. It's peaceful. It's hanging out. We can enjoy that. We can experience that, and we can enjoy that. And again, the more we enjoy that, the less that dog wants to jump up and go running outside and chase a squirrel, right? Because this is good by the fire. Once the chitta becomes more present in the body, not rushing out, kind of just being with its own sense of self. Because remember, the chitta and the somatic sense of the body are very, very sympathetic to one another. If the attention is hanging out with that somatic sense of the body, refined, then by definition, the chitta is there as well. It's resting there. When the chitta rests at home, then it can feed on nutritious food. And what is that food? It's nothing more than the qualities of the heart, and that are generated by the heart. Things like ethical conduct, generosity, kindness, loving kindness, contentment, samadhi, equanimity. All these lovely mind states are generated in the heart. They don't come from outside. They don't have to go to smells and sights and sounds and tastes and touches to feed, because the nutritious food is right there. It's right in the heart. It's generated by the heart. You could say the chitta literally feeds on itself, on its own salient qualities. As Ajahn Sucitto says, it's no longer bamboozled to go out looking for fulfillment where it can't be found. It rests back in the body, enjoying, feeding on the nutriment of its own qualities that are generated by itself. This really brings a deep contentment. In the moment, it's a deep peace and contentment, and it's a very supportive condition for further peace and contentment, for developing samadhi or concentration and developing clear seeing or wisdom. When the chitta is home and resting in this place, practice is very supportive for the practice to progress. So what does this all mean? Like, what do we actually do? Well, let's see. Let's take a moment and just see. And start with what Ajahn Sucitto says, train the mind with the body. If you want the chitta to come and rest in the body, create a suitable home for it by bringing your attention to the body. Do that now. Relaxing the body. Relaxing the body isn't a demand or a big thing to do. Relaxation comes very naturally when we just allow the body to soften and settle. And also open. So here's an image. If you had a block, a square block of frozen honey, and you put it on a counter in the room, at room temperature, what would happen to that honey? What would happen to that block as it warmed? It would sink, wouldn't it? Start to sink down, but also it would spread out and it would widen. See if you can get a sense as the body softens of settling, but also widening or opening. And when the somatic sense of the body is soft and wide and open, this is going to support the chitta being soft and wide and open. Resting. The chitta is not crumpled, contracted and crumpled like a piece of paper crumpled up, being driven out by desire and aversion. It's open, spacious, relaxed, because the body is open and relaxed. In this way, we use awareness of the body, cultivating a refined sensitivity to the body, i.e., really learning to have the body be more and more relaxed. Because of the sympathetic relationship between the body and the chitta becomes relaxed, open, can feed on nutritious things like calm, like the sense of loving kindness that arises when we do this practice. All sorts of wholesome qualities that arise as we tend to the present moment. So we lead with the body and cultivate this suitable home for the heart. Okay? And this is why The Wizard of Oz is the greatest Dharma movie ever made. Right? She wanted to find something out there and did see all sorts of fantastical things, right? And scary things too. But then Dorothy realized really where she wanted to be, where home was, right? It was right there, like the whole time. It was right there. For her, she had to go on this trip to go out there and do all these things to realize that. And it seems like we do too. We have to check it out and find out that, no, right here is much better. This body, this moment, right now. Yeah, next time you watch The Wizard of Oz, watch it with that lens. It's very cool. All right, I think that's good for now. Thank you, everybody. We have some time for some comments or discussion points, or if there's anything you'd like me to flesh out a little more, questions, including folks at home. I'll prompt you at some point, folks at home. But in the room, anything in the room? Mm-hmm. Do we use a mic? Yeah, there we go.
Hi, my name is Mike.
Hey,
Thanks for being here.
sure.
Do you have anything to share on discerning wholesome versus unwholesome nutriments?
Yeah. Check it out. No, literally, like pay attention to your experience. Pay close attention to your experience. This is actually, speaking of the chitta, this is a quality that the chitta can do. It can reflect back on its own experience and go, how's this going? How is this? How do I feel? How does this feel? But we have to pay attention to do that. So, it's no different than if you ate, oh, I wonder what this food is like. Well, you eat it. You're tuning in. How's this feel? Is my stomach rumbling or vomiting or whatever? Oh, not so good. Okay. We can know that. I mean, certainly the Dharma teachings give some pretty good guidelines in terms of what we might consider, and like, well, you might check this out. This tends to be good, Brahma Viharas, enlightenment factors, this is wholesome food. And the Buddha's like, well, greed, hatred, and delusion, hindrances, that might not be such great food. But he always said, come see for yourself, right? He laid it out there, but we have to tune into our own experience and find out. So my answer to that is pay attention. Yeah. You'll know. We can know that. The chitta can know that. The Buddha said, if this were not possible, this type of reflection, the awakening would not be possible. So use that and see for yourself. Yeah. I'll just real quick, something just went through my mind. This is also why cultivation of refined body awareness is really helpful, because that's going to you're going to get really truthful information from that. If you're doing something that's unwholesome, the body's not going to be like, right? It's not going to be spread out and open, and the chitta and the somatic field is going to. So you're going to get always honest, real-time information from that refined sense of the body as to what's wholesome and what's not. If it's wholesome, it's going to be feeling okay. If it's unwholesome, there's going to be contraction somewhere. There just is. Yeah.
My name is Pietro. Thank you so much for
Hey,
your talk. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. I was wondering, on a more maybe practical advice, like sometimes the body feels painful, and so Chitta maybe doesn't really want to go there, at least mine.
Yeah, this is interesting. Sometimes it can be helpful to, so one answer or one reflection, sometimes it is helpful to put it on something that's not so like, right? So sounds or something, if we can go. And we can cultivate a relationship to unpleasant that is not problematic, that it's just unpleasant. And particularly with like a more refined sense of the body, it's like, what happens is we get unpleasant sensations in the body, and then something goes, my back's killing me, right? When's the sick gonna end? Yeah. So it's like, my back is killing me. It's like, we're all in the realm of concept and identification, my back, and Yeah? Well, what are you or what is one actually feeling? Is it back killing me? No, that's a concept, right? Because a concept could be car driving. Oh, my car driving. Oh, right? What you're noticing is still the same thing. So we get like drop down below concepts. What's actually happening? Tiny, tiny sensations moving around quickly, coming in and out of existence very, very quickly. And we can have a relationship with that is very easeful. It's challenging, and at times it's just too much, and we move, or again, maybe open to sounds or something, and we can do that. We can have a very different relationship to unpleasant than we are habituated to. And it's very actually empowering and freeing, because when we have more of a reactionary relationship to unpleasant, we're kind of just led by the nose ring through life. Like, pleasant and unpleasant is just going to happen. You know, the worldly wind, have you heard that? Yeah, the worldly winds are going to continue to blow. And if we don't find some equanimity and ease with them, we're just, I think in the teachings, the boat on the ocean with no rudder and no motor, it's just the waves come and it's just flopping back and forth. And that's us. The winds are blowing and we're just, yeah. Keep at it. I practiced with a teacher one time who said, if a yogi, I started, I'll finish it. If a yogi has pain in their body and it goes away, they should cry. Does this mean this is about sitting so we don't move and then something good will happen? No, not at all. It means learning to use this particular experience of unpleasantness as a training, actually, to start to be able to have a different relationship with what's unpleasant. And we can do it. Absolutely. Buddha said, if this were not possible, he was talking about the whole path, but this is part of it. If this were not possible, I would not ask you to do it. But it is. And so he said, so I offer these teachings. You know, it's tricky though. And then there's stuff like chronic pain. People have chronic injuries, and we may need to be judicious with how much we're paying attention to that. And it may be skillful to move away and get some ease for a while. And this is a whole big territory. Yeah, but what about when it's really painful? See it as an opportunity. Really. See it as an opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's pregnant with the possibility for a lot of freedom. Because then the body, then we're not like so concerned about what's going to happen. Oh, I'm going to sit down. My leg's going to fall asleep, or my back's going to hurt. It's like, it can still be like a very great place to hang out, because the mind, the heart and the mind are relaxed.
You just have one in the Zoom chat.
Oh, great. Thank you.
From Sean. They say hello.
Hey, Sean.
Can you share how the calming body / chitta can create space for noticing and healing old trauma? Our relationships can bring this up.
Yes. Well, first I'll say, whenever we're in the realm of trauma and the body, at times we need to be judicious, because depending on how much we've come to kind of acclimate or heal the nervous system coming into the body when trauma is present or when there's traumatic activation may not always be the best thing to do. I like to use the example of like getting into a hot tub. So you don't just jump in. Some people do. I find it like, how do they do that? But generally, like a hot tub, you stick a toe in, right? It's like, right? Because it's intense, yeah? And you then, okay, and then something acclimates. And then you stick the foot in. It's like, and then something acclimates. And then the leg, and then the torso, right? Sometimes we have to be really patient and kind of skillful in how we approach inhabiting our body when trauma, there's trauma in one's background and there's traumatic activation in the moment. It's a whole, it's a whole different talk. And it's a whole field of therapy. But in terms of, can you read the question one more time? Because I think it was broader than that. But I wanted to start with that.
Can you share how the calming body / chitta can create space for noticing and healing old trauma? Our relationships can bring this up. Yeah,
relationships, yeah. So, assuming that we've found our way into the body, yeah, we've allowed the nervous system to heal enough so that the activation that comes up around trauma doesn't kind of blow us out of the water. It can handle it. We've got a large enough gauge wire to handle the voltage that's flowing through it. Yeah, we've allowed our nervous system to heal and become more, what's the word? What's the word? Resilient, yes. So that when activation comes up, yeah, there's I feel that, but the wire doesn't get zapped. The whole system doesn't just get fried. It can handle it. Yeah. Once we've learned to do that, then working with the chitta and really working with the energy body and these very difficult emotions that accompany trauma, we actually start to feel them in the body. We come out of the story land of them and the identification that we can have with the trauma about what it means about me and who I am, yeah, and the stories, and we come into the body to feel what does anger feel like, or what does shame feel like, or what does sadness feel like. And we be with it in the body, because that's where it's living. In the trauma field, there's this little saying that says, the issues are in the tissues. Yeah, that's where it's living. And so we go to it where it lives, not in the head, because in those stories, we can't really be with them anyways. They're way too seductive. We just identify and get sucked into story. And that's start kind of getting thrashed about a bit in those stories. So we come into the simplicity of the somatic sense of the body, feel these difficult emotions, but feel them as bodily sensations. And we be with them with an awareness that has learned to be in the body and inhabit the body, and we hold that with that loving, soft awareness, and we allow that energy to be held and follow its nature, which is going to be to discharge. And the example I like to give is a young child who's been playing outside with its friends, and they come in distressed and crying, they called me names, they threw rocks at me, right? They're distressed, right? These emotions are very distressed, yeah? What do? The child runs in, the arms close around. The arms are awareness. The arms close around, that child's held, it sobs, and it discharges and dissipates. We don't have to do anything. We're not in the realm of story or intellect. Yes, I am a good person. No, we're not on that level. Just on the somatic level, holding kindly, allowing that to discharge. Of course, we don't just have to do that once, but that's the kind of mechanics of it, or what I would describe for that question. But again, getting into the body when there's trauma takes some skill. We don't just go diving into the hot tub right away. Yep.
One other one
Please.
from Zoom. One second. Oh, never mind. I actually think. Oh, okay. When chitta and mana are distinguished like this as two aspects of mind, where does awareness fit in?
Oh, only easy questions. The quality of the mind is to be aware, right? The mind is empty, it doesn't have a shape, it can't be found in space or time, and its quality is aware. Just in terms of using this word awareness as opposed to, say, mindfulness. Like when you're lost in thought, the mind's still aware. If it wasn't aware, those thoughts wouldn't be known because there'd be no awareness of them. Yeah? So when you're lost in thought, the mind is aware, or its knowing quality is happening, but there's not mindfulness. Right? Mindfulness knows a sound is being known, a sight is being known, a thought is being known. Yeah, there's no mindfulness. There's just the mind doing its knowing thing. But we don't, sometimes it's said, we don't know that we're knowing. There's no mindfulness. There's just that inherent knowing quality of the mind happening. So that was just the beginning. What was it? Where does that fit in with chitta?
Chitta and mana,
Yeah. Well, those are, chitta and manas, again, two just qualities of the mind, but the mind itself has a knowing aspect of it. That's what it does. It knows. And so how I would answer that is it fits in that that's what the mind does. That's what both the chitta and the manas do. They have that quality of knowing. One then knows in a way that's very intellectual, very calculating, etc. And another one, the chitta, knows in a way that's very sympathetic, reverberates, is touched, etc. Yeah, have you ever thought about that? When you're lost in thought, something's knowing, or it would just be blank. Something is knowing those thoughts. It's just the inherent knowing quality of the mind. Maybe we have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Hey, Peter.
I just showed up. I didn't know you or anybody more special than anyone else, but I guess thank you for
That's because
being
I'm
here.
not.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking with the chitta, and you talk a lot about calmness and refinement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that that's been my experience with chitta and heart, especially as a person who lives with chronic pain and chronic trauma.
Yeah.
And because I think it seems to me like we often aspire towards calmness and refinement.
Yeah.
And that if we are expressing our heart and our pain or whatever through ways that are not nice, then we are, spoiling the waters of everyone else around us. And I think for me, in my experience as a person who lives with bodily pain, lives with trauma, lives with those things, that needing to be polite so that the waters of other people's chitta aren't disturbed is kind of insulting and a little bit misses the mark. Because I think it really says that refinement and calmness is the aspiration, where it sounds to me more about that chitta is the expression of the knowing of the pain that we're in, as opposed to it being specifically, it has to be this way or this way. It's more of pain, suffering happens, and therefore we express it through chitta, through that balance of mind and heart. And so I oftentimes in these white spaces, in these polite spaces, we end up talking and wanting to be very calm and refined. And I sometimes think we miss the mark on that in terms of, other ways of expressing historical trauma or things like that. So I think I wonder if your thoughts on that sort of in terms of how chitta is expressed, should it be expressed in just one calm, refined form, or is it chitta can be expressed in other ways?
I don't think there's any should about how we express ourselves. The Buddha definitely didn't say good and bad, right and wrong. What he did say is pay attention to how you actually feel. And this is why the body, and like I said, with trauma and chronic pain, it's a whole nother talk about how to get in there and actually how to make that, have a sense of a relationship with that. That's okay. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah, that's definitely a caveat. But pay attention, like the person's question, how do I know what's wholesome and not and unwholesome, right? Pay attention. It's not about what we should do or not do. It's what's going to be for our well-being, what's actually going to be for our well-being. And when we pay attention to when we speak and act in certain ways that might be an expression of pain, that it actually is harmful for us. It's in the teachings it's called unwholesome, not as unwholesome and wholesome isn't a moral view. It's just what leads to happiness and what leads to suffering. Yeah, I don't even like the word right, because right and wrong, it's literally what's going to lead us towards happiness and what's going to lead us towards suffering. That and only that is what the Buddha was concerned with, not what's polite, what's not polite, what we should do or shouldn't do. So that's the, and if we can get into the body, it's going to give us really truthful information in that realm. The mind can be pretty deceptive. Someone says something and it hurts our feelings and I don't care, right? I don't care. When really it's like, ouch. Well, the body can't play games like that. The body is always, if it's ouch, it's going to go ouch. Is that helpful at all? That's how I would respond to that. So it's just 8:32. Are we trying to finish at about 8:30? Okay, great. Okay, great.
Yes, thank you for the talk tonight, Chaz. As always, I always feel fortunate to be able to catch one of your talks, so thank you. As many of you know, Common Ground acts in the spirit of generosity. So 2/3 of any donations tonight will go towards supporting Chaz's livelihood, and 1/3 will go towards supporting the center. There's a bag of recycling, compost, I believe trash underneath the coats. If anyone has space to take those with them. And then if anyone has a second, these chairs go up against the back wall. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Yep. Good to be with you.